Again, number 2 of these little flowers, and I changed color to see if that would help. They're not, this one's a little lighter. I ended up having 10 colors of blues and greens, and this is another one of the greens. Again, that's why the palette colors were so amazing. I was able to color coordinate this pretty well, but as you see with the little thing, we're starting off right where I left off. And you guys are looking actually at the back. I call this the back of the work. It's a little duller, not as sharp in my opinion. It's still just as pretty in the end, but it just looks different once you've been doing it for a while. And this is the front. You can actually see each of these V's a little better from this end. You'll do most of your work looking at it this way. Well, not from the back. You're looking at the back, I'm looking at the front. But I'm looking at the front, and that's how you do most of your work. But you want to, again, grab your yarn, pull it through once, twice. Most people, when they're doing a double crochet, will tell you to chain 3 times. If they're doing a single, they'll tell you to chain once, and it's a give and take on the double halves, how many times they tell you to chain up. I prefer, when I'm doing a double, not to do 3, but to do 2. It looks closer to size, and it's not as noticeable that it's too big. Especially when I crochet a little looser, it feels like, than some people might. But that's why I'm actually only doing 2, even though it called for 3 here. And then there is a chain space in between, which most crochet flowers will be a lot of chaining to make each petal and where the petals should be. So you're going to be left with this very long, awkward looking chain that is, you're like, how would this be a flower? And it will be, believe me. But once you have all this, you're going to go under, grab it again, but don't slide it through like you were to the chain. And you're going to find, let's see if I can demonstrate. Right here's where the chain is. At the bottom of it, there will be this little tiny V shape that's being pulled. If you pull, that one moves. Really, like, all of them move, but that one really moves. That can be called a stitch. Most of the time I skip it. Because I feel this is a stitch all in itself. Depends on what your pattern's calling for. I skip it here as a stitch. Because if in hats and stuff, if you skip this, you can sometimes see a gap. In these flowers, if I didn't skip it and I skipped this next one and then put it in, it would be a very big gap here. But, so I missed this one that moves. I go into the next V, just like before when I was shutting the circle. I push down and through, I snag the yarn, and I pull it through, and now I'm left with actually 3 things of yarn on my let's see if I can, on my hook. And this is going to be actually a double. I go under and I snag the yarn one more time. I pull through 2. So now I'm left with 2 on my hook, and this little thing over here and this little guy over here. I go in, I snag it again, and I pull through 2 again. And that right here is a double. I will come back and do 2. I might come back and do them in a better yarn. It's thicker, better lighting, and I will really take my time showing you what each stitch is that I know personally. But once that is done, you're just basically repeating that over and over again the whole way around to however many petals your pattern or you want is. Now quickly, hopefully, catch up and show you the next step. Because it's such a light and delicate style that I was going for, it makes it a little bit more fiddly, and I wouldn't recommend this as your first. So don't try this as your first flower. Don't try this if you've never crocheted. I'll do ones for that, for the first time people. And, alright. This is the last double that I have to do. Alright, and as you can see, I have my nice little round. Each little spot has a spot, but they're not connected. And in all of these kinds of things, you usually want your things to, you know, be connected. So you want to chain, I am crocheting, 3 more. So you have that little extra weird tongue right now. And then you want to look over here at this. And it's going to be a little tricky. I really recommend just taking your time and learning to read your work. Over the years, I learned to read my work, as in, I know what my chains look like, I know what my singles look like, I know how to count each individual chain around, and how to find the V's, and how many chains I did because I can count them. And there's tricks out there to show you how to do it, but I just recommend every time you're working, do it. See if you can count how many stitches just by looking at your work, and not by counting as you go, because that can get really time consuming and really draining. And really slow. And if you want to go faster, you kind of have to stop doing it. But I count 3 up. So this is, it's going to be hard to see. But there's 1, 2, and this one right here at the tip of my finger is number 3. And yes, I do have god-awful fingernails because I work in a warehouse. And having fingernails is terrible when you work there. But you slip into the 3rd one just like as if you were at the beginning of this tutorial with the chain and making it a circle, and you slip through and there's 2 on the top and 1 on the bottom, and you find your yarn and you grab it. As you can tell, the faster I get, I no longer go around, I just hook it as I'm coming through. It's a nice little hook, so pretend like it's a hook and you're using it like an extension of your hand. And you pull it through. So now there's 2 on your needle. And you pull it through again. And again, that's a slip. And now you're left with a nice little green circle that looks like a pinwheel. And I'll be back to finish it up with the very last step.